This is Teresa, daughter of the artist. This is Togi.
Oh,
Yeah, we're really coming down.
it's all right. How do you? No, I never come to the office of my own.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have come down, I'll go upstairs.
Okay, slowly.
Sorry, it took too much space.
No, it's okay. I'm so glad.
I'd like to call Mrs. Teresa Yao to give the opening speech. Mrs. Teresa Yao. She's too excited.
Miss Jane Itoki, Chair of Board of Singapore Art Museum, officials from National Arts Council, Singapore Art Museum, friends and former students of my late father, Fang Chang Tian, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. Many people had asked this question of me. What motivated me to publish this book here? Undoubtedly, this project is born out of deep gratitude in my heart for my mother, Madam Heng Siu Ling, who adopted me when I was barely 11 months old. Pardon me, whenever I mention my mother, I get emotional. Pardon me for that, I'm sorry. She was a great mother, capable, generous, efficient, and kind. She taught me many good values in life. It was she who initiated this publication 20 years ago, in 1994. It was her fervent wish that we should catalog the work of my father, who so laboriously and quietly pursued his passion for art all his life, to epitomize his techniques and to the bringing of ink brush painting to its apex. Mr. Fang, my father, was a talented man, humble, kind, and charitable, never to promote himself or to compete for fame or gain. He focused in raising a generation of artists to provide continuity in the in-brush painting of Chinese literati tradition. He encouraged his students to build strong foundations as a base to innovate and create in many diversified and modern ways. One can see the diversities and modernity in the works of his many students here today, tonight, present here in this beautiful art house premises. They are all now established artists in their own right. That, together with my father's art, is my father's gift to this country, Singapore, he called home. Another factor that spurs me for this book is also a remark some years ago by Professor Wu Yongliang of Hangzhou Academy of Arts, China. He did not know my father then, but he came across his paintings in the Singapore Art Museum. He commented that Mr. Fang is a jewel, a pearl, but what a pity. It's been buried and remains buried in sand. This publication today marks our effort to uncover this hidden pearl, to let its luster shine forth from the rich legacy, and hope it will continue to benefit all future generations of aspiring artists. This project would not have been feasible if not for the support of my dear husband, Paul. Drawing on his strong knowledge of classical Chinese and research, he interpreted every one of the Chinese inscriptions for me to translate into English. He was very demanding, always pushing me beyond my limited abilities for better metering and rhyming in the poetry translations. Of course, we had many differences in opinions, in disagreements, and arguments. He being very effectively bilingual from Catholic high school with deep upbringing in Chinese culture, while I'm very open, very free, and being educated in the English stream. But we always find some ways to harmonize and to compromise. Just for example, tonight, this opening ceremony, I bought a fantastic, beautiful green jacket, red jacket. He said, no, 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 it's too flashy, it's too loud, won't allow me to wear. Then I asked him, what shall I wear then? Black. Black, going like a lawyer, going to court. I said, no, today's publication is celebration. It's a happy occasion, I want to wear red. Finally, I compromised. I'm wearing national color, red and white. Happy National Day. So you see, Paul, I must thank him. He is always has been my pillar of strength, support, and guide. I thank you, Paul. Today, 17 years after my dear mother's death, and 27 years after my father's passing, if we do not endeavor to catalog and publish the life's work of my father, we will be failing in our filial duty. It is also my mother's wish, and it was also written in her will, where she appointed Paul and myself for this challenging task. We could achieve our vision only because of the tremendous help and support from so many people. Truly, we have found Singapore to be a very gracious society indeed. I would like to express my appreciation to the National Gallery Singapore, the National Arts Council, the National Heritage Board, the symposium panelists who earlier on at 6 o'clock shared their beautiful insights, Mr. Loh Chi Wee, Mr. Kwok Kian Chow, Dr. Heng Chai Kiang, and Dr. Winston Oh, and also with Nai Swee Ling. Yeah, they so generously come forward with their time to share their unique insights and fresh perspective into the art of Fang Chang Tian. Many other friends and relatives also lend a hand to bring this book to its completion. Like our nephew, Mr. Matthias Yao, who is talented with an artistic discerning eye. He assisted me in the many rounds. Sometimes I email him in the middle of the night, of selections for artworks to be featured in the book. Mr. Kwok Kian Chow was the first person I consulted for this project. And he then directed me to Mr. Loh Chi Wee, who had also guided me with his expertise and experience on how and where to seek for assistance. As Paul and myself had really no no publishing experience at all. My appreciation should also go to the publishing house, EDM. I think its boss is here, Mr. Delia Millier, and his staff for enduring a very tight schedule to rush out the books on time for the launch day today. In fact, we had the books only this morning. They couldn't do it earlier. Very special thanks to Ms. Jane Itoki, Chair of Singapore Art Museum Board, for gracing this event as our guest of honor. Thank you, Ms. Itoki. Ms. Itoki has a very busy schedule attending to arts and diplomatic functions, as well as her own professional engagements. Yet she finds time for us tonight. Your presence here means a lot to the Chinese brush painting circle and to the art lovers of Singapore. Thank you once again. It leaves me now to wish everyone here present an enjoyable evening as we brush aside the covering sand to reveal the hidden jewel, the pearl, the Fang Changtian, the Literati artist. My husband Paul will now address you in Mandarin. Thank you.
诸位先生、女士，晚上好。今晚的盛会，陈谋各位热情莅临参加范昌前诗书画的新书发布会、研究会、研讨会和精品展览会。本人和内人 Teresa 万分感激。首先，我要感谢我们今晚的主宾尚达曼夫人 Miss Itoki， 以新加坡艺术博物馆理事会主席的身份，包容为今晚的盛会主持节目仪式，为本会增添无限的光彩。还有检讨会5位专家学者对先岳父范昌贤先生的诗书画印世家的推崇，并对其画作做出透彻的分析和中肯的评语。我夫妇俩特在这里致以衷心的谢忱。我想，我现在呢也应该在这里稍微表扬内人 Teresa 为本书的成功出版所付出的辛劳。寿生辛苦了太多，这些年来他念之在之，孜孜不倦，焚膏继晷。除了身体不适应、不适的时候，无时不在为本书的策划操心，连后期的排版，甚至于封面的设计，都提供了不可或缺的宝贵意见。平日我多数会以揶揄的语气，刻意的批评他，目的呢是在激励他百尺竿头更进一步。其实，本人是打从心里钦佩他的。如果没有他这样的心无旁骛、一心一意的付出，本书不可能有今天的面貌。就拿题画书的英文翻译来说，每当初稿完成，他总是会谦虚地问我读来如何，而我的一定告诉他 "There's room for improvement"， 还可改进，特别是在 metering 和 rhythm 这两方面，就是节奏感跟这个押韵的规格，他呢总是先坚持抗拒一阵， 然后隔了一夜，第二天一早起身，来不及梳洗，立马做出一首新的，不但更合音节规律，而更加精准的韵律的译作。他说，这是在睡梦中不自觉的灵感使然。我说呢，这是人在睡眠下下意识起了作用。我现在回顾一下，过去2年半的光阴，大部分用在画作的入册挑选上。必经的过程是挑出之后送去让摄影师摄像，然后浮选，然后再精选，然后再筛选，然后记录在案。这一切他必须亲力亲为，也急需相当敏锐的观察和审美观，才能够胜任愉快。但是他没有这方面的正规和专业的记录的训练，令人惊奇的，在从事这些工作的时候，他竟然头头是道，中规中矩，没有厌倦，他也没有怨言。这期间，我学识的也得到我堂侄儿姚志和刘思伟先生、陈伟的博士、郭建超先生的多方协助、多方鼓励。对这几位呢，我是敏感在心的。甚至在选画的过程中呢，我的太太呢，有她的与生俱来的天赋本能，是她有自我的修养、环境的潜移默化的结果。最后我还要再讲的一点，就是她对母亲的爱和对父亲的敬，正是整个整个工作程序的无形的幕后推手。这是一个爱和敬的结合。英文通常管这样的情感叫做 love，L-O-V-E。在中文里呢，有时更加细腻的科分和更细微的讲究。内人 Teresa 主要是受过英文源流的教育，但是在中华传统文化的传承上，他其实大有儒家之风。他对父母的孝念，促成他一往情深的继承我岳母的遗志，完成编辑出版这本画册。我要特别表扬他。有人说这本书是 an act of labor, an act of love，love's labor， 就是爱的事工，爱的体现。的的确确是的。作为她的丈夫呢，她的另一半，我是引以为荣的。谢谢。Mr. Togi, our guest of honor, distinguished guests, friends and relatives, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Ms. Itogi, Chair of the Singapore Art Museum's Board of Directors, and all distinguished guests present here this evening to join us in this joyous occasion of the book launch and the exhibition here at the Arts House. During the 2.5 years of preparation for the publication of this new book, And working together with my dear wife, Teresa, I've been touched and truly proud of her efforts and dedication. Though she had no professional training in the art of ink painting, it surprised me that she is, in fact, quite well versed in this artistic field. Her talent in the appreciation of fine art is not only manifested in the discerning eye in selecting the better from the good, but also in translating my father-in-law's inscripted Chinese poems in a painting. This discerning eye is, I suppose, inborn, or the result of the imperceptible influence through her life experiences during her maiden days at home, what in Chinese we call 潜移默化. I would like to further emphasize her love and filial piety towards the parents. Madame Heng Xiuleng, my mother-in-law, was a very extraordinary woman, deserving our utmost love and respect. She single-handedly shouldered the responsibility of providing for the family and allowing my father-in-law to carry out his pursuit of art freely, allowing him to live a low-key style life without having to sell his works for a living. My mother-in-law loved talent, and steeped in Chinese culture herself, had brought Teresa up with discipline and Confucian values. I'm proud of being their son-in-law, now that they have left us with so many invaluable and beautiful legacies. It would be selfish of us not to showcase and share these treasures with the general populace, art lovers and connoisseurs. We try to do this now, today, and hereinafter. So, with a note of thanks, let us relax now, share and enjoy viewing the many beautiful masterpieces around at this exhibition. Thank you.
This is a speech by our guest of honor, Mrs. Jane.
Good evening. Thank you, Mrs. Teresa Yao and Mr. Paul Yao, for inviting me to this very important occasion. I'm honored and humbled to be here to launch the book, Fang Chantian, the Literati Artist. Fang Chantian's name is venerated in Singapore as an artist and also as an art educator. A young Singaporean might ask two questions. Who is Fang Chantian? And the second question, the favorite among Singaporeans, what school did he go to? Or what school is he from? Well, first, broadly as an artist, Fang Chantian is one of our most influential ink painters and exponents of, I'm told, the Xieyi, Shanghai School in Singapore. Secondly, as a teacher, and I spoke to his student, Chen Ke-chan, who's here with us tonight, a student of his. He told me Fang Chantian was stern and strict, yet possessed fatherly love and care for his students. He was a traditional Chinese man who had an open heart and taught humility. Lo Zewi, who is with us, who penned an essay for the book, says Fang's many years of teaching have provided continuity and preserved the practical technicalities and spiritual context of Chinese ink art in Singapore. So we have two fairly technical terms before us, Chinese ink art and Xieyi. Now, one approaches artworks by just looking at them. Sometimes, however, I find it wise to first read about them. I learned from Eugene Tan's foreword, Eugene who wrote the foreword for the book, that Fan specialized in the CIE style, which is writing ideas. And that's a beautiful concept, that the CIE style is writing out ideas. And in particular, he painted flower and birds, and was renowned for painting orchids and bamboo, the symbolic motifs of the Literati's pictorial legacy. Fan's work is significant for its naturalness and freshness, achieved by brisk and rhythmic brushwork. What Fan has passed on to Singapore, and that's very relevant, is, and I'm very interested in the phrase, is a self-renewing aspect of traditional ink painting. That's what Eugene says. Now, that was if one read about the artist. Now, if one looks at the work which is here before us tonight, and one looks at them carefully, as a non-specialist myself, I always look for that pure personal connection of the work and its artist, that the connection between the work and the creator. And it's really not as simple as it sounds. And I find to truly know an artist and understand their works, it is good to know the critical points of their lives. Not just their journey to becoming an artist, but once they have become artists, what their continuing journey is. The critical points that may have added a new richness or perspective to their experiences, their thinking, and their aesthetic mind. And in that spirit, in learning about Fang Chantian, some of the critical points in his life, and I speak purely as a non-expert, may have been one, he was born into a scholarly Teochew family in Guangdong, in Chiayi, in China. And Kwok Kian Chow, who also penned a piece, an essay for the book, had written, Fang Chantian had an early start in art education, undertaking formal art education in Shantou, in the Swatao area, Shantou Teacher Training College for Art, and graduated at the tender age of 17. So we're really having a prodigy in front of us. He studied in Shanghai in 1920s, and I cite Chua Ek, who was a student and also a very famous artist himself, when invited in 1998 by Kwok Kian Chow, who was director of the Singapore Art Museum, as the guest curator of Fang Chantian's show. In 1998, Chua Ek had written that art in China in the 1920s in Shanghai, where Fang Chantian went after acquiring his formal art education in Shantou. In the 1920s in Shanghai, art in China in this period was affected, we would know, by the May 4th movement of 1919, and which advocated the modernization of social and cultural conventions. So that's a critical second point in Fang Chantian's life. Fang Chantian then went back to Shantou, and he set up a painting society, and I understand a very important art school. He then, interestingly, because of the war, and because I think the art college that he was teaching in, the Chiayi Teachers Training College, had been bombed, he was tasked to go to Thailand. So that's a critical fourth stage in his life when he went to Thailand. He was asked to raise funds for the rebuilding of the Teacher Training College, but from 47 to 56, he couldn't return to China because they were having, as we know, major social upheavals. So in 1956, we were fortunate to have Fang Chantian land on our shores. He came in 1956. We were having our own era of social and political challenge and change. He taught at Chongqing High School and then Whampoa Secondary School. And the rest, as they say, is history. In each point in his journey, what changed and what was enriched in his artistic mind is a very fascinating issue. Can we see, as we look at his artworks, threads in whatever form that connect his artworks to those important critical points in his journey as an artist. And when we know that an artist as important as Fang Chantian had mentored and shared his artistic discipline and special style and methods with significant and acclaimed artists, Singapore artists, like the late Chua Kay and Chen Ke-chan, and other highly respected artists who were students, who I understand included Ling Che-eng, Lim Kay-hyung, Nai Swee Ling, Tan Wei Pang, and Lee Su-chi, among others, we stand before the artworks of Fang Chantian to truly contemplate his works. A great artist and a great teacher. We contemplate his works, we still our minds and look hard and see what we can yet learn through his eyes. And in that relationship of our standing before an artwork and thinking about the artist and trying to follow the xie of the artist, it is very helpful indeed to have in hand the book that will be launched tonight. Apart from essays and pictures of paintings, we also have, as described by Mr. and Mrs. Yao, very useful translations into English of the inscriptions on the paintings. And for those, I'm sure, who can read Chinese, not like me who can't, who greatly appreciate the translations to English, but for those who can read Chinese, I'm sure it's a great service too, because the calligraphy has been in print and very easily accessible for those who have bad eyesight. Now, indeed, for those who cannot read Chinese like me, we can now actually do what? We can actually read the painting because the inscriptions have been translated for us. I want to cite, in closing, a painting in the book, I think it's page 42, a painting, an undated painting by Fang Chantian of bamboo. It is titled The Rattling Bamboo, with an inscription by esteemed artist Zhang Daqian, and this is what he wrote. When in peace and happiness, one paints the orchid. When feeling indignant, one paints the bamboo. This bamboo plant is rattling under the wind, coming from the wrist of Chantian with unseen force of the brush. A close quote. May we enjoy tonight the unseen force and the seen brush of Fang Chantian. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we call on Teresa Yao, Paul Yao, to do the ribbon cutting with our guest of honor?
Okay, so you have look in front, look in front, look in front, slide, sir, look in front. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
The steam, my brother. The steam, whatever I think.
It's very interesting cross-cultural competition.
The idea is my consistency
I did not know this.
like rock. I think the fair, right? Very happy. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Hello, smile. Look in front. One more. Smile. Say, Ethan, hello. Boy, boy, uncle.
You make it so, you know, thank you. And send my regard to Mr. Taman. Yeah, and then she will run here. Actually, yeah, my family came to drama.
My beautiful lady here, video. This is my lawyer friend, girlfriend. I know him when he was a baby. When he was a baby. When he was a little baby.